Hello, Kiss fans. This is the Unmasked edition of Watchin' You. I'm Jeff Scott in storming St. John, New Brunswick, Canada. And joining me from an equally stormy part of Canada is...
I don't. I'm confused.
Why?
Well, you just said this is unmasked. We got these things on, but now you're telling everybody who you are.
Oh, well, okay. I'm Gene Simmons hiding in a restaurant.
That's right. I'm Paul Stanley.
With a really, really hot-looking model who's not Cher or Shannon Tweed.
That's right. That's right. Yep.
Yeah. But so, I think what we should do is unmask.
Yeah, I agree.
And show the people who we are.
I can do it. I'll start with the glasses.
Okay. Whoa. Look at that.
That is scary.
Right.
It's scary.
Right. Let's take it off.
Reveal, the big reveal.
The big reveal.
3, 2, 1.
Oh, put the makeup back on.
Exactly. That's right. We are who you thought we were.
Yes, yeah.
Jeff Gray in Stewiacke, Nova Scotia. And it's storming here, too. Ergo,
man, what a blizzard out there today. On a day like today, I think about our friend Chris Medic in Sacramento, California. Mm-hmm. And Chris doesn't understand things like snowblowers, snow shovels,
or snow.
Block heaters in cars.
They get them. They get them in the mountains up there. They get snow in the mountains up there.
Well, you can go to the mountains and rent skis, and
yeah.
You can do the winter thing for a day.
You know who else?
We have to live it for months.
That's in months and months. I missed 2 weeks. You know who else doesn't understand? I was in Barbados for a couple of weeks, and I saw.
Yes, how was that?
Oh, it was awesome. But I was talking to people down there, obviously local guys that take you on jet skis and take you fishing and those kind of things, and they have no concept at all of this. Oh my! I said how cold, what the temperature is. Their eyes get like this big.
Yeah,
mine is snow. What? They have no idea because they've never been off the island. So anyway, so here's where we are. I'm gonna take my hat off too. I think like what with the hat on or the hat off, Jeff? What do you think?
Doesn't matter.
Oh, really? Well, okay.
There's no big, huge reflection coming off the top of your head. So
yeah, that's because the angle's not right.
Where's the ball cap?
The ball cap. No, I can't do the ball cap. So I could put a shadow on my face, given the lighting. In this room. So I would do it. I got a coffee for a change.
I do too.
This is early. This is February 15th.
Yeah, it's the day after Valentine's Day. It's a huge blizzard. It's about 9 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
So good morning.
It's actually our Valentine's edition too, really.
It is. Yeah.
Even though that's not a good idea.
No, not really. I didn't want to. We talked about that. I didn't want to do the whole love theme.
What'd you call it? You said it was stupid. No, you call it stupid. You said it was lame.
I don't
lame.
Say things are stupid.
No,
I'm
you
not to use the word lame.
You said it was lame. I was crushed. My heart was broken when I suggested it.
Oh, boo-hoo.
That's true. Oh, I do see. I know. Hope it's in tune. Do you use that to play your guitar? Do you use it? Do you use it to play your guitar?
Yes. Yeah. Very Nigel-esque.
Yeah, Nigel-esque. So we were just figuring out what we were going to talk about. Right? It was like,
well, we do have a topic for tonight, but
today.
One of the things today. It's today.
Yes.
One of the things that I put a post on the East Coast Kiss Tribute recently, and you thought would be a good discussion. I YouTube a lot of stuff when I'm bored, and I happened to come across Kiss around 1992 doing Parasite with Bruce Kulick on guitar. And I never really listened to Bruce a whole lot because I just wasn't a huge Kiss fan in the 80s. I stopped buying the records. I was buying other things. And I knew Bruce was there, and I knew he was good, but boy, did I love what he added to Parasite. And when he broke into the solo, it was like, wow, it was so Kiss-like,
yes.
And it retained parts of the Ace Frehley solo, but it just had a whole new approach and dynamic and sound of its own. It was incredibly musical and incredibly likable. Yeah,
I agree, and because I was a big fan of that rendition of the band at the time, the Revenge era band. I thought they were just hitting their stride when they had the reunion, and I felt bad actually for Bruce and for Eric at the time because I thought they contributed really well. But I agree with you. I listened to that clip and I watched that clip, and that's what Bruce did. Like you said, he would do 50 to 60%. He'd give you the flavor of the Ace lead, but he would make it current. So he would take he was I wouldn't call him a shredder, but he was a modern guitar player. He's not dead. He is a modern guitar player. So
sorry, Bruce.
That's all. That's like all those little nuances. Like he would bring those little metal flashes into there. Those little progressive flashes in there. If you listen to that song, it's interesting. The main riff is actually completely different than the way Ace plays it. Like it actually doesn't have the same cadence in it. It's got a slightly different. It's like go listen to it again. It's got a slightly different. Like how Parasite goes down, 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 dig it down, 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 to that dig it. All these little percussive things in there. Listen to it. I listened to it. I said, wow, it's actually leaves something out there, but it still works. And but that's what made it interesting. What was the point? It's like when you listen to Kiss Alive 3. There's songs they've duplicated there from, like they do Deuce and a couple other ones. I can't remember what else. But
Watchin' You is on.
But what's the point? What's the point of doing it exactly the way they did it in Alive, right?
Yeah, I mean, and the point I made was that, Tommy is a great guitar player, but he's emulating Kiss, Ace Frehley note for note.
Yeah,
and I really and I like to hear those solos done the way they were recorded because that's the way I remember them. But there was something cool about what Bruce was doing. It was Ace-like, but it was very original at the same time. And I think at this point in time, I'd rather Tommy were doing his own thing and adding his own originality to it, as opposed to just copying Ace note for note. Mainly because I really like what Bruce was doing.
Yeah, that's as you talk about that, that's why I thought this was a good topic. There's a couple things. Like I started to imagine Bruce in the makeup, like but when you think about what Tommy does, a good example of Tommy's been doing copying Ace for so long, and that's what he's paid to do. And
we're going on 15 years.
Well, yeah, I mean that's what he's paid to do, and that's
he was Ace longer than Ace was.
That's exactly that's what they want, but that's what they want him to do, and so I don't. It's funny when you do that so much. You think about it. If you copy someone so much, I think you start to lose your own style, and when you listen to, and I know you haven't done it too much, and I haven't either, but if you go listen to Sonic Boom. You listen to the lead breaks on Sonic Boom, and 90% of them are just taking bits and pieces of Ace lead, literally taking riffs from Ace and plugging them in here, played by Tommy, and just taking like a She riff and putting it in. Yep. I don't know what song.
Well, the first time I heard Monster, I guess it was Modern Day Delilah was the first track I heard.
That's on Sonic Boom.
Sonic Boom, yes. Yeah. When I first heard Sonic Boom, which is really the first time we get to hear Tommy recorded, I think he's appeared in other places, but to me, it's like, wow, did they bring Ace in to do the solo? That's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
but no, it was so Ace Frehley-like.
Absolutely,
so much like him.
If you listen to Monster, actually, that one he actually. Just so you know, if you go listen to it, I haven't listened to that many times. You go listen to it.
What do you mean, listen to Monster?
Exactly. Monster. The Monster Mash. But if you go listen to it, it was, he did break out a little bit more in that one in terms of more independent soloing. But what about, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, let's face it, he was paid they're selling the Kiss brand. They paid him to do that, and that's what he's doing. So I'm sure that's what he wants to do, and why not? So, but what do you think about the idea of, you got me thinking about it. What do you think about the idea? Like, what if today it was Bruce on guitar and he was in makeup? Right. One, what would he look like in Ace Frehley makeup?
I don't know. I'm sure someone has done a Photoshop mock-up just to see what he would look like.
I've never seen one. Have you?
Wearing Ace. I haven't. Okay. I should do that.
You should do it you should go right here. Bloop.
Well, at one time, Bruce made a joke on a video about being the dog. Because we've had the cat and the fox and the hawk. Yeah. And he figured it'd be the dog, so someone actually put dog makeup on him.
Can you make him like Ace Frehley though?
Sure. If I can make Christine Vitale look like Paul Stanley and Scarlett Johansson look like Ace Frehley, I can put some makeup on Bruce.
What do you mean, Scarlett?
And what's that?
What do you mean you made Scarlett Johansson look like that?
Oh, listen, I was there and I put the makeup on her.
Okay, all right.
With a Q-tip.
So the last one, because since you put that out there, I've been under the delusion that she really thinks we're like the most interesting men in the world. So
we are. She just left. She just left a few minutes ago.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I think.
That's why I'm so tired. I was up all night.
It matters up all night. I was like all night. But it doesn't matter what I think. If she thought I was the most interesting man in the world, that would be much more important to me than if I thought I was.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Just saying.
Yeah.
So the question I put out now is if Tommy and Eric did a solo effort, a solo recording together with some other guys, would you buy it? Would it be Kiss-like?
I'd probably buy it, but not because it would be Kiss-like. I think that's an interesting. I just think it would be an interesting mishmash.
I just wonder if when this whole thing folds, if Tommy and Eric might continue to work together and continue to record and put out material, hoping to ride the wave of the Kiss army.
Oh, I misunderstood what you said. I thought you said Tommy and Bruce. That's what I was thinking of.
No, Tommy and Eric.
Tommy and Eric.
We'll bring in Bruce and Vinnie. Make it like the former Kiss army. I don't know. Ex-Kiss.
They could call them the Sloppy Seconds.
The Sloppy Seconds. All kissed up. Kissed off.
Castaways.
There you go. You get all former members of Kiss and put them all together. Ace and Peter and Vinnie and
everybody but Paul and Gene. Everybody but them.
And see if it's not a more creative album.
Well, I wonder what. I guess what I would say about that is I'd wonder what Kanye West had to say about it. That's what I'd be really.
Kanye would definitely have an opinion on that.
Yeah, he'd probably come in. Paul would come in and tell us you ought to kick him in the nuts, right? Like Beck.
Yeah.
You hear that? He said Beck should kick Kanye in the nuts.
Yeah.
I don't think Kanye. Well, obviously Kanye's got balls because he always does stupid things.
Yeah. How did Beck get album of the year? I mean, Beck. Is he still? I guess he's still recording. I didn't even know he had anything.
I thought Beck was a beer.
Out this year, yeah.
No, I don't know. I mean, I'm not. There's a whole bunch of music out there that I'm not even current with because.
Yeah, so I went on to YouTube and I typed in Beck and I'm thinking, I remember him doing something, and I pulled up this video and it's 2 turntables and a microphone, and then this other one where he goes, "I'm a loser, baby."
Well, that's an old one, though.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, that's at least 20 years old.
I'm a Loser is, yeah.
Yeah, because I can remember when I heard that on the radio. I remember I was just moving to New Brunswick. We're talking 93, 94.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, wow, he's been on the go a long, long time. And now to get Album of the Year, that's pretty cool. The guy's obviously in the industry and making a go of it.
But remember...
but I don't know his stuff.
No, I haven't followed him since his style really isn't what I'm looking for. But what's interesting about that whole thing is that and this is relevant to Kiss because of promotion value and exposure. I mean, Kanye West, he didn't even get on stage. He just pretended he was going to go on stage, and just it's a joke. And look at the amount of publicity that he's gotten as a result of doing that. And there's a guy, I can't remember who it was. There's a guy that won like 5 or 6 Grammys, and he got no publicity whatsoever. And Kanye does this idiot thing, and then he's got
that's right. All he did was walk up, look at the microphone, and leave.
Do you feel it's a bit of a bastardization that Kanye West has actually recorded with Paul McCartney?
Oh, that shouldn't have been. But I mean,
not right. It's not right.
Yeah, but I mean, it's Tinseltown.
But Bruce, so I don't know. I can see. Could you see Bruce in the makeup though? Like, I mean, today, like in the band.
I think Bruce would not have given up his spot in Kiss if it was offered back to him. Although he claims he would never wear the makeup.
I think he would.
I think he would too.
I think he would because I think he knows he's got his priorities straight. I think he would just, I don't think he would get caught up in whatever. Everybody knows who he was. It wasn't like he is who he is. He established himself. He didn't come into it as an Ace Frehley imitator. He came into it as himself.
No, he came in as Bruce Kulick.
Yeah. So the haters would have a hard time hating him.
Yeah.
I think.
Oh yeah. I had a thought and I lost it. Anyway,
I got it. It's right here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was lollipops. That was your thought.
What I was going to say was, Would any musician turn down an offer to be in Kiss?
Well, we've talked about that before, and like,
to wear the makeup, and I mean, who would turn it down?
If you're,
I know I wouldn't turn it down. I know you wouldn't turn it down. I don't think Ace or Peter or Bruce would turn it down. I think if Vinnie was offered the job, he'd put the makeup on and come back. I think
Vinnie, I don't know, but
someone like Eddie Van Halen, probably not.
People that stand on their own. I mean, obviously, the average Joe.
Big names, they wouldn't.
Yeah,
the average Joe would.
Well, I would
course,
like. I mean,
right? You become part of History.
Yeah, wouldn't you?
They'd have to reprint the History books and put your picture in there.
Well, I wouldn't care about that. I would just once in my life, as a guitar player, I would love to play in that production. In other words, in that kind of a production value with the sound and the whole, and you play to 20,000 people, just once, once, and to get to do that consistently.
Well, I've come close in a few festivals where you had not so much a big crowd like 20,000, but where you walk on stage and they're miking your amp.
Yeah.
And then the sound guy calls out and he says, "Guitar player, what do you want in your monitor?"
Yeah.
And I say, "I'd like to hear my guitar and the singer and nothing else." Okay, great, right? And I know that all I have to do is focus on my playing, and I don't have to worry about levels or anything. And if it's not sounding right, I just go to my microphone and say, "Could I have a little more monitor? Could I have less drums in the monitor?" It's a nice feeling when you're done, you just grab your guitar, walk off the stage, and someone's going to tear down your rig.
Yeah.
That's a cool feeling, right? When
I like to
you get treated like that, and it's a big stage, and the sound is big.
Yeah,
is big.
That's what I'm saying. Like with the pyro and to be a rock star for a day, would be with that. So yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, I'm sure there's people that say, "Oh no, I'd never do it. I don't care how much they'd pay me." But most people would do it. So sure. Like I've said 1,000 times, I never have a problem with Tommy but Bruce. I'm trying to imagine Bruce in makeup, and I don't think it makes sense. I think it was the right thing for them to do not to do that, because, like I said, the whole idea of putting the makeup back on, and then when Tommy came on, was just to keep, obviously with Tommy and Eric there, it's just to keep the vision of what the band was. So to keep it true to that, an attempt to mimic that original concept, which means you got to copy everything. Like imagine Bruce in makeup and then in Ace makeup and then not playing Ace. That wouldn't make any sense. Yeah, that's and it all comes back to that debate again. Should Tommy and Eric be their own characters? But that's not what Kiss wants. They don't want to redo the Eric Carr, Vinnie Vincent thing of the '80s. They just want to make it look like '70s Kiss. Yeah, and to relive that, because that's what the fans want. They're a retro band. So I didn't mind some of the clips I've seen with Vinnie playing his style. Not other than the fact we've talked about before how he goes to excess, but it didn't bother me that he was playing. He was nowhere even close to what Ace used to do, and but that didn't bother me because
completely different style.
But didn't bother me because he was his own character, so it was like a different character sitting in with the band. It didn't.
And the band was evolving. They were looking for a new sound, heavier. Creatures was so much heavier.
Well, that's a great.
A lot of Kiss stuff.
That's a great segue though, because they went to Creatures because they went two other places first, and what we wanted to talk about today is one of the departures that they made.
Definitely,
which was Unmasked, right?
That's right. I just had one more thought.
Sure.
The viewers are just chomping at the bit for us to get to Unmasked, but just thinking about when Eric Carr would have auditioned for Kiss. Kiss were one of the hottest bands and hottest band in the world, and I could see hundreds and hundreds of drummers wanting that position.
Absolutely,
thousands of drummers wanting that position. And I just wonder how the audition process would have gone. I mean, Gene and Paul are not going to sit down and listen to 200 drummers. They would have paid someone to go through 200 drummers and pick out the top
Get
5.
Down to 10 or something, down to 5.
Exactly. And then I think back to when Ace Frehley auditioned for Kiss. And, everyone's got a different story of how it went. One red orange sneaker and one red sneaker. But I think about when they talk about, everyone seems to say, there's about 50 guys who auditioned. Why? I don't understand why these nobodies in New York would have 50 guys come out audition for lead guitar for a band that no one's ever heard of. When there's so much going on in New York, I just find that a little... I always get the impression it was Bob Kulick, Ace, and 2 other guys. And they chose Ace because he had.
Well, yeah, who knows what?
I don't know. Who knows what went on there?
Yeah, who knows what went on there? But I guess what I would say about New York City, though, even though there's a lot going on, there's a hell of a lot of players too. So it's a lot of fish swimming in the ocean. So
that is a good point too. There's a lot of people.
Who knows?
So
like you said,
you put up an ad. You put up an ad here in St. John. You get two guys call at the most.
You know what they say? They say
take the best of the two.
They say, yeah, then you still do it. And then they say, history is written by the victors of war. Well, in this case, history is written by Kiss, and they've been writing their own history since the beginning, right?
Yeah, they will spin that whatever way works for them.
Yeah, who knows?
Makes them look very significant in rock and roll.
Yeah.
So, Unmasked. Do you remember when it first came out? Oh, I do.
I know you were.
But I was trying to remember when I first got the album, and I don't remember. It was May of 1980, and I'm trying to remember. I know it was in the summer that I bought it, so it was that summer. They were slow getting albums into Newfoundland, I guess. It's not like being in a big center like New York, where it was released on Tuesday, and it was in the shelf on Wednesday. But I don't think I saw it till that summer. So
I remember when I can distinctly remember when I actually started listening to it, and I missed it all completely in 1980 for some reason. I remember when I first got married. We got married in 1981, and I remember our first apartment. I don't know why I remember this. We got our first apartment, which was like we had no furniture, nothing, and I actually had the 8-track. It's what I had, the Unmasked 8-track, and I had this little 8-track player I used to take to work with me. I used to do like renovation, siding, and roofing, and those kind of things. And I had this. I never forget having this 8-track, looking at it and looking at the cover and thinking, okay, this is going to be neat. And then I plugged it in, and I really struggled with it. But it was 1981. It wasn't until like September 1981 when I first started to listen to it.
Okay, so it'd been out a while.
Yeah,
I got to ask you. Remember 8 tracks? Okay.
Yeah.
Was there a moment in the program where the song faded out and then it switched tracks and then faded back in? Can you remember that?
Yeah.
8 tracks did that. Was that stupid?
yeah. It was. That would have been. I think it was on Double Platinum. It might have done that, but it was. I didn't have that many 8 tracks, but it was. I don't know. I don't know if it did it on Unmasked, but. Yeah. Because there was 4 tracks, right?
It was the oddest thing, and I know.
Yeah, 8 tracks actually.
A friend of mine bought Dynasty on 8-track.
Oh yeah.
And he had a portable 8-track player that took batteries, so we'd be in this playground, sort of like the little hub corner.
Yeah.
And we'd be there till 11:30 midnight on swings, playing Dynasty at full volume, and swinging and singing, and yeah, like you'd be in the middle of Charisma, and it would do a fade out, and then you hear this click, and then it would fade back in, slightly back, a few bars, so you don't miss any music. And I thought that's just the oddest thing. I think if you showed an 8-track to a kid today, they just scratch their heads and wonder what the frig is this.
It has to be the most bizarre format, really. At the end of the day,
it is when you think about how much more efficient a cassette tape is.
Yeah,
which is really just a reel-to-reel in a cassette.
Yeah, and then
made more sense than the 8-track.
Yeah, so that's when I first heard it. But I remember. Unmasked came right after, like I said, after Dynasty, and I was thinking about this because obviously the big
Unmasked came after
Dynasty.
After Dynasty,
right. And then I may have said it backwards, but that's what I meant.
No, I was thinking it came after The Elder.
No,
but I'm wrong. No, it came after Dynasty.
It's in between. But so there's a transition there, right? So if you listen to Dynasty, there's elements of Unmasked, I think, in Dynasty. There's a couple.
There's a reason for that.
And what is it from your perspective?
I guess it's Vinnie Poncia.
Yeah, I would say, yeah.
Who produced Peter's solo album, and then produced Dynasty and produced Unmasked. And I was looking at the track listing this morning. Vinnie co-wrote if there's 10 tracks on it, I think he co-wrote 8 of them.
Yeah, he wrote a lot of them, yeah.
So the only one would be Is That You, which I'll get to in a minute, which is not written by Kiss.
Right.
At all, and 2 of Aces were not written by Vinnie. It's just credited as Ace Frehley only. But Vinnie certainly had a huge hand in that album, so no doubt there's going to be similar sounds between between Dynasty and Unmasked.
There's some, yeah, like there's a few songs on like Dynasty still had a heavier edge to it, and then when you got to Unmasked, I think the biggest problem I always had with Unmasked, and obviously it's because of Vinnie, and you know how they've had these conversations about who ruined Kiss. Well, Vinnie Poncia obviously ruined Kiss at the time, but just sound wise, I listen to those songs on that album now, and actually, like I said, I've played a few of them live, and you play them live and you play them heavier, they're actually pretty good. But if you play it, but you listen to them, the production value on that album is so tinny and poppy. It
is, but you know, I was listening to it earlier, and I thought there's some really good guitar tone in some of them open with a really cool guitar riff. There's certainly moments in there where there's keyboards added. Holly Knight recorded keyboards. There's moments in there where the keyboard just ruins it. It had a really nasty pop style, but I was kind of, and I remember the album as being sort of a nasty pop album. But playing it this morning, I thought, well, that doesn't sound so bad. That's kind of cool. That's got a cool guitar tone. And a lot of them opened with a nice, you know, really, really cool guitar riff. Comparable to Watchin' You or Parasite. Not the same thing, but, you know.
Yeah, well, now since you've had your 49th birthday, you have to remember that, again, like I said, you're looking at that with your 49-year-old ears.
Exactly.
So it's like when I heard it in 1981, it was like, holy mackerel, the band lost its edge completely. Is the way it felt then, right? Just then, like I said.
But you know, like, sorry.
No, that was it. Then you know, they lost. But now, like I said, again today, I have a little more patience for it now than I did then, right?
Yeah. See, the first song, Is That You? To me, that had real raw, you know, cutting rhythm guitar riff. I thought it just sounded great. It, you know, it had that charisma, radioactive kind of a sound to it. Very deep, very rich. And I'm so surprised that it was only recently I realized that's not written by anyone in Kiss.
Right.
It's written by Gerard McMahon. And no other writing credit. And to me, it's such a great Paul Stanley song. It really sounds like it could have been on Paul Stanley's solo album or side 4 of Alive 2. I mean, it sounds so Kiss-like. And to me, it's heavy and it's raw and it's got big Paul Stanley vocals and it's got edge. I like it.
I actually, it's probably my favorite song on the record.
Mine too.
It's still, to me, like I said, I figured out what it was that bugged me about the album so much, and that song has a bit of it in it, and it's the hyper reverb. It's the reverb in the vocals, and I think if it was more in your face, kind of like, you know, there's one point later in the song, he really screams at the end. And it's much more like his vocal. Like I would compare his vocals on Is That You on that album versus, say, his vocals on I Stole Your Love on Love Gun. Think of the stark contrast between the two styles and the treatment of it. And I think if they'd have had a more aggressive treatment, I would have liked it better. At the time, I tolerated that song. I actually like it now, but I tolerated it when it first came out. But I figured that's what it was. It was just it was that Elvis reverb kind of thing
like a song like Tomorrow, the opening of it, you hear this. The snare drum is almost like a gunshot.
Oh yeah.
It's just huge reverb, and I wonder if it's even the snare drum. It's got a very 80s sound to it. And I wonder if it might not be, you know, like Simmons electric drums. I don't know. It's just got that sound to it. It doesn't sound very Kiss-like at all. But yeah, there's a lot of that big reverb production in places.
And they carried some of that over into The Elder too. Like, you know, like on I think. Remember that? remember that? But what happens with that though is when they get too produced like that, it doesn't sound as heavy and it doesn't sound as Kiss-like as the Kiss is right here, right? Kiss is right in your face.
You know, I mean, there's a good discussion some night as to just, you know, people probably don't think about producers. I know I didn't when I was a kid. I was more concerned with what kind of candy I was getting in the album.
Yeah.
And, you know, the picture on the front cover and, I got a sticker, you know, like who produced the album? I don't give a shit who produced it. What the frig does a producer do? It'd be interesting to look at albums that were produced by various people and compare and contrast. But I mean, we all know that, God, producer of Alive. Help me out here.
Eddie Kramer?
Eddie Kramer had a style, and look what he did with Ace Frehley's album. Look what he did with Kiss Alive and Rock and Roll Over. I mean, just, they really stand out as having some amazing production value.
I think the thing we need to think about, too, and I have to remind myself, is what was going on when they recorded the album. Like, what was the environment, and what was the status of their career, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, that's the discussion I was getting at, is how much does the producer have to do with that overall sound? And how much does the lineup have to do with that overall sound? And to what degree is one greater than the other?
Yeah. How much more black can it get? Right.
None more
black. So, but you think of the transition, like, they came out of Dynasty, and the biggest song that came out of Dynasty was what?
I Was Made for Loving You.
Absolutely, and they saw that, and now they didn't go do any more disco because they realized they didn't want to do that. But certainly, I Was Made for Loving You was their most pop song, other than Beth, and maybe Hard Luck Woman, but that wasn't ballady. So they really tried a lot on Unmasked. Like you said, Tomorrow's a great example of it. There's a couple other tunes that Paul did on there that are very much like Tomorrow. Let's see, what was that? You go ahead and talk about it.
There's one that just has an absolutely terribly annoying, it's Easy As It Seems.
That one.
There's just this little keyboard break in it, and it's like, oh, that just sounds terrible. It's melodically, it's terrible. Whatever patch she used on the keyboard is terrible, and the placement of it is terrible. And She's So European is a song that I really, really enjoy. Just the style and the approach, and I like Gene's vocals on it.
Let's go back. But
I don't like. There's a little just on top of Gene's vocals. They add this really rinky-dinky keyboard line, which I don't like. And you don't need it because Ace is all over that album. I looked at the wiki site for that, and there's no other lead players on it.
Right.
We don't have any ghost players like Kulick or Thayer. It's Ace Frehley doing all the lead work. And his tone is great on the songs that do have lead solos. Well,
if you look at, they were at the time. It was what else was coming out in 1980. 1981, 1982.
Pink Floyd, The Wall.
But it was all this kind of there was
Iron Maiden.
Keyboard rock was coming out, right? There was a lot. All these,
on the pop charts.
Yeah, and then so back to what we were talking about before. You were talking about Paul's songs on this album, comparing them to say Dynasty and I Was Made for Loving You. Look at the songs on this one. Shandy.
I like Shandy.
What Makes the World Go Round. So again, sort of that sort of pop. I know, but think of it stylistically. Poppy, hook driven, but not written, but not riff driven. But what makes the world, and then Tomorrow again, another kind of
gonna fall in
another
love,
ballad.
Fall in love.
Easy
I just don't like the love songs.
It could be all the same song. Easy As It Seems, right?
Yeah.
So those three songs, and really, they're all these sort of attempt, I think, to write hits.
Oh yeah. Well, they wanted radio play.
Right.
They wanted a top 40 hit, so that album would sell triple platinum instead of gold, which is probably all it got.
So do you think they were trying to write hits on Destroyer? Or Rock and Roll Over, let's say.
Rock and Roll Over, yes, because they tried to get a hit with Hard Luck Woman. They wanted to have something on the radio right next to it.
Well, that's only because of Beth, I think, though. You know what I mean? I think
because of Beth. Yeah. They never expected to get radio play because they hadn't been getting radio play. And when they sent out Detroit Rock City, that was, an attempt to get some radio play. Right. And it was only because they flipped it over and played Beth that they were getting radio play.
Right.
Detroit Rock City didn't get radio play.
Right. So this album here, I say with Vinnie Poncia, and who else did he used to work with? He used to work with somebody.
Ringo Starr.
So
he was Ringo's right hand man.
That's right. So I mean, this guy's a pop guy, right? He's a songwriter. Yeah. So that's what they were trying to do, and that's where you get the flavor in this album. Like Tomorrow, like think of the songs. If you could you make this song heavier than it is? Could you make What Makes the World Go Round heavier than it is? I don't think so. Could you make Tomorrow heavier than it is? Thematically, I don't think you can. How can you say what makes the world go round? Isn't it's not going to happen. It's got to be what makes the world go round. Let's talk about She's So European.
It's embarrassing to play some of these. Oh, She's So European.
Yeah, I was thinking.
Well, again, I'm drawn to the Gene side of
Yeah,
it. So,
yeah.
I like Gene's vocals, and I guess he wrote them with Vinnie, but a song like that just has a hook. And it's not the chorus, it's the verses that I like. Like, she's so European. That doesn't hook me at all, but she walked in like a lady with a glass of pink champagne. And that's just the rhythm guitar and his approach to that, and the imagery of the girl with the pink champagne. It's all very sexual, and I like the verses hook me in more than the chorus. I know. And sorry for my singing this early in the morning.
No, sorry. I thought it sounded pretty good. Actually,
I can sing another.
Well, just give me a sec. I'll get you to do that. So Seashore European, what it made me think of was the chord structures and the sound, even though it's more poppy. It made me think of X-Ray Eyes a little bit in terms of the type of song. Yes. From Dynasty, like he was writing, like I've always said that Gene writes quirky, guitar songs. Like they're really weird. And this is another one of those. I mean, there's not too many songs in this album I would go, oh, I really love that song anyway. But I know what you mean in this song here. She's so there's that like a keyboard. I don't know, put a bullet in my brain. But that's what they were trying to do. They were trying to make it 80s, right? That early 80s sound. They were trying to be current. And we've said it many times that when Kiss started out, they were trying to be leaders. And then as things went along, they tried to be followers. And whenever they try to be followers, they're never as successful as when they try to be ahead of it, right? And that's what. But Seashore European, I can put. But I'm with you. I think the verses are because just when you see her, that's when that stupid that keyboard part comes in there, and it's like
wearing her heart on her sleeve.
But that's
and it's just you don't need that there.
You know what else it does though? It's like how you and I talked about Peter's solo album, and here we go again with Vinnie Poncia, is that everything that Peter did on the solo album dated it. In other words, it stamped it at a period of time, and it will not have any staying power. It's the same thing with this stuff. Is that it dates it, and you hear Seashore European. When do you think? I think early '80s, just like that, because of the keyboard treatments and stuff. So you said you like Shandy, right?
I like Shandy because to me it's got a very interesting lead guitar opening. It's just the texture of the guitars and the opening. It's like the rhythm guitar. It's almost like it sound better on an acoustic, but they got this really thick, rich rhythm guitar, doing some really cool upper chords, mid-neck chords, which sounds really, really cool. The drums right off the top, those drums just sound so. Yeah, it almost sounds like a Simmons electronic kit.
Sounds like Love. It's the Love Boat. Sounds like Love Boat.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's the soft side of Paul, which I don't mind too much.
Yeah, he's got that's part of his thing. Love songs,
but I think I just like the tone of the guitars on that, and it does sound very poppy, but it's got a nice tone.
Yeah, I found it sound.
So I like Shandy.
It sounded very un-Kiss-like, is what I would say.
Oh yeah,
like you said,
but it's not un Paul Stanley-like.
No, agreed.
Because at that point in time, Paul Stanley was master of those ballads.
Yeah,
and there's some of that all over his solo album, and.
But not with
so it's not unexpected to hear something like Shandy on that.
I agree. It's just that I think that, like you said, I agree with you that the guitars are interesting on that song. But the texture and the flavor of that song is on Paul, like in a way, in the sense like if you go like his solo album, like he had ballads for sure. Like it takes even Tonight You Belong to Me. That had acoustics in it, but it didn't have the sort of like you think of the rhythm guitars in Shandy at the beginning, the electric rhythm guitars, it had this almost disco sounding guitar flavors to them. So not that they weren't good, but that made it feel less Kiss-like to me. Anyway, I don't know. I never gravitated to to those love song things anyway. So it was like I don't dislike it, but obviously it was huge for them in Europe, right?
Oh yeah. Well, in the United States, it only charted 47, and in Australia it charted at 10.
Yeah.
The other interesting thing is we're going on tour for this album. They only did one show in the U.S. and it said the Palladium. I'm not sure. Is that L.A.?
Wow.
The rest was done in Australia, New Zealand, France, Italy, and Germany. So they realized that there's an audience for Kiss elsewhere in the world, but not necessarily in the United States and Canada.
That's something we got to remember. Is like
so they pulled up the roots and took off overseas.
Yeah, there was a lot of that going on that we didn't even know because, like you said, they were getting more airplay and those kind of things. So Shandy, I mean, they played it on Symphony, right? Obviously, because they did Symphony in Melbourne and Australia, right? So they played it there. I mean, it would just, it's again, that song for me is stamped at a time period because of the way they recorded it. You know, like you said, those drums and the guitar sounds. That doesn't mean it's bad; it just means it's stamped 1980. So we talked about some of the Gene stuff, we talked about Paul stuff, but there's some really interesting Ace material in here, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, we want to switch gears and talk about Ace because what's cool is that this is one of the few albums where Ace gets so much exposure.
3.
He's got 3 songs on this album.
Yeah.
Did he have 3 on Dynasty?
He had 2000 Man. He did. He had
he
Hard Times, and he had
Save Your Love.
Those are the 3.
2000 Man.
Those are 3.
I think he actually appeared more than Paul did.
We
discussed that sometime in the past.
Yeah,
There's one album where he appears more than Paul.
Yeah, as far as certainly from a vocal perspective, and this one here again. And you know what's funny? You mentioned that because I remember when that happened. That's one of the things I remember too about this. When it came out was that, oh, geez, again, Ace has got 3 songs here. Oh, this is interesting because I actually liked that. I thought it was a good mix. I thought that, I thought they should have 10 songs and they should always do 3.
Yeah. Also bear in mind that at that time they were very, very almost like a household name, and it seemed like everybody had a favorite.
Yeah.
Like when you bought your action figure, Mom and Dad were only going to buy you one. Which one were you going to buy?
Right.
And there were big loyal Ace fans. And also bear in mind that Ace's solo album was the only one that had a radio single, and I think Ace's solo album sold the most. So I think Paul and Gene were recognizing that Ace was a big part of Kiss.
I wonder if it was also an attempt. I don't know this, but because we know now that Peter didn't play on the album, right?
No, it's Anton Fig.
It was Anton Fig all the way through it. But you wonder if it was an attempt to sort of keep at least keep Ace around. Maybe. Do you think maybe he was starting to jump ship too, or?
Well, I'm sure he, if Ace wasn't happy in the band, he could certainly jump ship, and I think that Paul and Gene were worried about that. They saw the success of the original band and the impact of the original band, especially around from 77 to 79 when they were just a household name.
Yep.
Kiss Meets the Phantom, the action figures, the merchandising, just crazy. The pinball machine. And I think about that era, and I wonder if by the time of Unmasked they're starting to realize, geez. I mean, they threw Peter on the cover. As far as I was concerned, Peter Criss was on that album.
Well, it's just like Psycho Circus, really, in another way.
Yeah, it was a facade, is what it was. But I knew Ace was on there because those 3 songs, we know he wrote them, and we heard his voice. And his guitar is all over that album.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So that might have been an attempt by Paul and Gene to say, look, Ace is still a very big member of this band. He's a big, prominent part of Kiss.
While you're saying that, you made me think of Shandy again, because I remember thinking, I was listening to that last night when I was going to bed, and the lead break in Shandy.
I don't think that's Ace.
I'm not sure. If it's not Ace, the lead break in Shandy, if you listen to the little, there's a part where it goes, there's all these little rolls in it, and I thought last night, I said, I'm not sure it's Ace either, but it's definitely, but it's
not Paul like either.
No, it was, whoever did it, if it wasn't Ace, it was definitely an attempt to sound like Ace. That's what I would say. So I think it was Tommy Thayer.
Well, did they know Tommy then?
I don't think he was born yet. I'm just kidding about that.
Okay.
But it was,
that's another topic I wanted to bring up sometime. Is like, how early did Tommy Thayer begin to appear?
Yeah.
in Kiss. I think he was there in part of the 80s, as early as 80 something.
But in Shandy, I'm pretty. Go listen to that lead again and listen to. There's that little. I can't do it vocal. I can do it on the guitar, but it's like there's these little rolls at the end of the lead break.
Yes, I know what you mean.
And it's very much like that's Ace. Like you listen to a lot of Ace's leads, he's got that style in there. He does that all the time. And but
I'm starting to think now that there's more players on that album than the wiki page told me.
Oh, probably.
Because I don't think Ace is in that.
Well, wiki is not exactly.
No, it's not. It's not. I'm just using it as a reference.
Yeah, me too.
But it only listed Ace and Paul as guitar players.
So some interesting things for people too. Like Talk to Me, right? So that's the first song that comes on the album for Talk to Me and Two Sides of the Coin. Both of those.
Isn't it Three Sides of the Coin?
No.
Oh, I thought it was Three Sides of the Coin, co-written with Tommy Summers.
Tommy Summers and Mike Bramble.
Yeah.
No. Actually, Mike, I had a jam here the other day with Blair, and Mike asked us. I put a word out to ask people for us to play different songs, and it was when we got together, and Mike asked us to play Two Sides of the Coin, and I said the problem with that, and the reason I'm going to bring it up now is because Two Sides of the Coin and Talk to Me are both really strange because they're written in open G tuning, and everybody tries to learn those songs, bastardizes them because they're written differently, and they really sound different as a result, right? That's this tuning that Keith Richards used to use a lot. Paul Stanley has on his solo album this one song. What's it called? I'll have to think about it. So I'll come back to that. But there's a song on It's All Right. That song is another song that's written in open G. So it really makes the sound different. Like Talk to Me is like a complete departure for the album, and as was Two Sides of the Coin compared to the other songs on there. Now Torpedo Girl, I can't remember. I think Torpedo Girl is just normal, but
and Torpedo Girl is the only one that's co-written with Vinnie Poncia.
Right.
The other two are just credited as Ace Frehley.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
So Talk to Me has that sort of thing.
Here's another example. Oh, sorry.
No, you go ahead. I think you're going to say the same thing. Go ahead.
It's an example of the chorus just totally sucks.
Talk
to me.
This is every year since I was here. Yeah. That's your.
But the verse is not so like the verse has potential.
See, you and I. This is where we go sideways again, because this is another one. Like, remember we talked about what was the name of the song in the solo album you liked a lot because of the lyrics, and I hated. Remember it was
Wiped Out.
Yeah, because he does all these rhyme things, right? Like, Talk to Me, Scott. I met some girls. We went for a whirl. And I had a plan. I couldn't stand. I'm making this all up, right? All these rhyme schemes, these simplistic rhyme schemes, right? Talk to me. And I didn't know what the song was about. You listen to Talk to Me. I guess I did know what that one was about. It was Two Sides of the Coin I wasn't sure about, right?
Two Sides of the Coin, the chorus is not so bad. It's a little bit catchier. Two sides of the coin to choose from.
Yeah.
Which one should I choose anytime? Yeah, that's not so bad.
No, I actually they're.
But of all of them, I like Torpedo Girl the most.
Oh.
What?
Do you really? I was gonna say the other song I want to throw in there too that he did open G tuning on was Dark Light. Okay. From the Elder, was the other one too. You can't play it.
That's kind of weird, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's.
I mean, we did a whole show on the Elder way back. But that's totally out in right field.
So you like the music in Torpedo Girl, right? That little beginning.
Well, I just love that. That's Ace Frehley on the bass. Excellent little drum intro by Anton, and then this funky little lead bass bit, and then he comes in with this even cooler guitar riff over that.
Yeah.
And it's got so much potential, and it's great. And then it goes into very simple down.
But I think that works though. See,
it breaks it, and then he comes back to that funky guitar, bass and lead guitar, which sounds great. The chorus.
It shows his his creativity though. It shows he was writing songs to write songs. He wasn't writing songs to write hits.
That's what it reminds me of. Not that it sounds similar, but it's just a quirky bit of Ace guitar, and it reminds me of Speeding Back to My Baby.
Oh yeah.
How quirky that little opening bit is.
Yeah.
Where he plays that lead and then he goes up an octave and plays the same thing.
Yeah.
And Torpedo Girl, although it has a completely different sound and style, but it reminds me of that in terms of what a cool bit of Ace Frehley lead guitar.
Yeah,
and
I
it's
agree.
what sets him apart from anyone else in Kiss.
What's the soundbite that comes in was it's really dumb, like when they it's this, remember this it's
like a sound from a submarine.
Torpedo bay's open. Torpedo bay's open. I can't remember what the guy says, but that makes no sense.
Man battle stations torpedoes.
I can't remember, but that makes no sense at all with the rest of this. It's almost like you said, "Where's George? Anybody see George Jetson?" It's like,
but you know, like he didn't go with the space theme.
No, that's right. That's right.
You know, that could have been Comet Girl.
Might as
Comet
well,
Girl, ride that wave. Comet Girl. You know, I mean, you could have made that fit as well, right?
What's that mean? What's Torpedo Girl mean?
Thought I'd take a trip to the moon today.
Yeah, what does?
But I stopped at Saturn on the way. You know, I mean, he could have made the space theme fit that song.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah. So what's
so we got to rewrite it.
What is Torpedo Girl about?
That's about sex, obviously.
Well, she's a oh, I get it. Okay. Oh, she likes torpedoes.
The whole torpedo.
Oh, she likes torpedoes.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't get that. So.
You didn't get that?
Well, I kind of got it, but I didn't think.
I didn't when I was.
Every time I hear that song, I think of I speak of Spinal Tap, right? Because I'm gonna say Big Bottom. The song in Big Bottom says, "I'm gonna sink her with my pink torpedo."
Yeah.
Big Bottom. Talk about mud flaps, my girls got them. Yeah. But that's when I think of Torpedo Girl. That's what. But I mean, what's funny was like again the other day somebody asked. I said a note. Blair and I were going to play, and I asked some people, what songs they'd like us to play, so we could tape them, right? And a guy says Torpedo Girl, and I figured I thought about it. I said, I don't actually know that song. I know a lot of Kiss songs, but I don't know that one. I have to learn it. I
think one day I sat down with a guitar and tried to come up with that little riff because it's so quirky.
Yeah.
And I thought I could use that somewhere sometime.
You could steal it.
Yes, of course, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think I was able to get it note for note.
I'll have to try it too, but I made
it could be in a different tuning.
I'm not sure. I don't think it is, but I'll go check it out. But
I'm sure someone's posted a tab somewhere.
But do you go? But Two Sides of the Coin and Talk to Me, they're both really fun to learn and to play. But they're hard to play because open G tunings and things like that, unless you're used to that. So, but Two Sides. I
never use anything other than standard tuning.
I don't. Yeah, I don't usually that much. I use drop D sometimes, but that's another thing. But in this, it's just they really stand out as separate songs. And again, I would like to see a slightly different treatment of the production value on all of his songs. A little like you said, the beginning of Torpedo Girl, it's a little too poppy there. The bass run, I like the idea, but it sounds very 80ish again, right? The 70s disco-y.
It's funky.
Yeah, but
it sounds like it belongs more on a Jackson album than a Kiss album.
Yeah,
and it's certainly not Gene Simmons.
It sounds like late 70s sitcom music or something like that.
The opening of Three's Company.
Yeah, something like that. Come on, rock on a door. Right? Yeah, you're right. It's sort of all those themes, right? So yeah.
Well, I mean, that's like Kiss Meets the Phantom.
Mm-hmm.
The original mix of that appeared on NBC had that Love Boat Charlie's Angels music all through it, and then if you get the DVD, they've removed all that and added music from the solo albums, which is odd choice because you've got a whole catalog of stuff to choose from.
Yeah.
The movie was made before the solo albums.
Yeah.
Why would they choose solo album material to put into that movie?
Yeah.
But that's another topic.
Another way to promote it, I guess, right? So the only thing we haven't really gone into with Unmasked is more the Gene. So there's a couple of the Gene tunes on there that are kind of interesting.
The final song I thought was a Paul Stanley song, and I just again listened to it this morning and quickly remembered, no, it's a Gene song.
Yeah.
I can't even think what it is now.
You're All That I Want.
You're All That I Want.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that sounds like it could have been on Gene's solo album. It's just your typical pop Gene song. It's not deep and dark like God of Thunder, which is not a Gene song. I didn't mind it. I kind of liked it. I like She's So European. What else does he do?
Naked City.
Naked City is kind of... I like his vocals in that.
He
gets some really edgy, higher notes in that.
Again, if you listen, it's so quirky. right? His songwriting is so quirky, and it makes it interesting actually, because it's the Naked City. The guitars on that are. He's got this staccato thing in there that goes. It's almost a reggae piece in there, and then it goes into. But you're right. He gets into. He was starting to get into those higher '80s vocals. They did a lot more of actually. If you when you get into the later albums, like when you get into like Asylum and those albums, Animalize, and he got much more into those higher register vocals, like you hear on Naked City. Obviously, they got into other things as well, but these songs, like again, they definitely had each song had the same kind of. I just wish they produced it different, because I think they could sound so much different. Like if they were produced the same way, say Rock and Roll Over was, or something like that, or it'd be interesting to see what, and got rid of some of the '80s cliches. You know,
I mean, there's a project for some year down the road when Kiss are just not doing anything. So take Unmasked and remix it, maybe even anywhere where there's electronic drums, dump it and put in real drums.
Yeah. Wouldn't you love to hear them redo Unmasked and also redo The Elder?
No, I think The Elder is good.
But I'd like to hear.
I'm happy with The Elder. I like that, and I wouldn't change it. I just have a soft spot in my heart for The Elder.
I know, but I mean,
and there's parts on The Elder I hate, but I like it the way it is.
I just like to hear. I'd like to. I mean, it wouldn't hurt to hear it, though. You know what I mean? So it's like you could always forget about it afterwards, and you could say, oh, la la la, and not listen.
But for someone to go in, I don't know who, maybe Paul or Gene or someone to take the original masters, the original recordings of Unmasked, and say, let's rework this. Let's get rid of anything that sounds pop. Let's dump all the keyboards. Let's dump all that reverb and let's just remix the thing and give it breathe some whole new life into it, and even go in and re-record a few drum parts or guitar parts or whatever. Just to, I mean, they probably won't do that.
No.
But it'd be interesting to take. I mean, I would love to have access to these original recordings.
It'd be fun.
And a big ass mixer and start remixing things.
I know what you could call it.
So much fun.
I know what you could call it.
Unmixed.
No, remasked.
Remasked. See, that's what makes you so much smarter than me.
I know.
And wittier than me. Remasked. Yeah, that's cool.
But it would have to be produced by Jeff Scott.
Exactly. Yeah. Remasked. I like that.
Here it is, remasked produced by Jeff Scott, inspired by Jeff Scott Gray.
There's some, exactly. There's some fans out there who've probably taken a stab at doing that. Like I saw a guy who redid The Elder. He did the whole thing. He redid the whole GD thing himself.
Wow.
And actually put it up online. And I thought, like, that's ambition. But I mean, I did the same thing with Pink Floyd The Wall before I was married and had kids.
When you had time. Now you don't have time.
Yeah, I mean, I had a MIDI keyboard and a computer. And I was like, holy frig, I was having a blast. And before I knew it, I had a whole bunch of bed tracks made for Pink Floyd songs. So I went and did the whole friggin' album. Added vocals and guitars and, sent some tapes to some friends of mine. They thought, holy geez, you did the entire Wall album. It'd be nice for someone, I don't know, some rabid Kiss fan to take Unmasked and say, let's take a stab at this and see if we can't make something cool out of it.
Here's a challenge. I get a challenge for someone we both know.
Yes.
It's a challenge for Jody Havnot. Because Jody's always doing recordings. He's always doing covers. Jody, do a cover which one do we want him to cover?
Well, let's take the one that needs the most work. The one that needs to be most Kissified.
Which one?
It's got to be a Paul Stanley song. I don't know. I'm thinking Easy as It Seems or Tomorrow.
Well, we'll let Jody decide if he actually watches this. We'll see. This is how we'll know if he watched it, because I'll poke him if he doesn't. So I haven't talked to him in a while, but those guys do great covers. Actually, I like to hear. They're always looking for covers to do, and I think if they do a great cover on it, if you take one of those songs. I think you're right. I think you take that. I'd even like to hear someone do Is That You, even, and see how that is, or She's So European. And I'd love to see like Buddy there, who did Secretly Cruel or Double Virgo.
I was just thinking of Secretly Cruel. The guy's name is Double Virgo.
Double Virgo. Like he's
added some other stuff in the last couple of years. But what he did with Secretly Cruel was just so friggin' cool.
Well, he made it sound like it was on Rock and Roll Over.
He made it sound like old Kiss.
Right. Yeah. Which was really, but it made me like the original song better too.
It did, because I like his version better than Kiss.
I do too. The lead guitar's better on it.
Yeah,
for sure. You made it sound like Ace Frehley.
He sounds like Gene Simmons.
Yeah, definitely. I thought it was really good. So I'd love to see that happen. But and
then the Christine 16 piano part.
Yeah, excellent. That was cool.
Excellent. That was such a cool treatment. The only thing I've really done, I did a version of "Shock Me," which is basically
cool.
note for note Ace Frehley. But there's a challenge for you and I, Jeff. Let's take a song off of Unmasked and come up with our own original treatment.
There,
post it.
Well, there you go. I think we'll just have to do that.
Yeah.
Right. There we go. So Jody, if you do it before us, then we won't. But there's a challenge. Who can do it first?
Well, we got to do one each. And if we do the same song, then surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
Let's just take a stab at it. So
that's not bad. So contextually, you take Unmasked, you go from Dynasty to Unmasked, and then you go to the Elder, right? And then so obviously the Elder again was we've gone through that whole album. But again, that was an attempt to find a new way. And then Creatures, right? So Creatures came out. So then it was like, okay, screw all that shit.
Let's try again.
Let's try again. And then
take four.
Take four. And then after that, it was like, okay, screw all that shit. We're going to take the makeup off.
Take the makeup off. Take five.
And take all that, screw that shit. And then we're going to bring Eric. We're going to bring Ace and Peter. Yeah. So Unmasked is pretty cool, though. I think it's like, I've had these conversations before about things in Kiss. This is one of those things that makes it interesting to be a Kiss fan. It's that not everything was smooth, not everything went in a straight line. There were bumps along the way, and
now here's an odd thing about Unmasked is that, and I mentioned this one time before, and I'm not sure what show and what topic we were doing, but there was a very, very small, short period of time between the time that Unmasked came out and the time that Eric Carr was introduced as the new drummer.
Oh, yeah.
I know that when I bought Unmasked, and I'm guessing it was I know it was in the summer. I'm guessing it was the summer of 1980, because I wouldn't have waited a whole year to buy Unmasked. But I knew that Eric Carr was in the band, and I knew that he was the Fox. And yet I buy this album, and this is Peter Criss plastered all over the front cover of it. So to me, that was... It was a confusing time as a loyal, diehard, rabid Kiss fan. I didn't want to see the original band come apart, and when I got this album cover, it was almost like, okay, Kiss fans, here's your reassurance: the original band is still together, and we're still the original four, and we've got a great sense of humor, and here's a nice little cartoon to entertain you. You can read this or try doing your own sketches at home as you're listening to these tracks and believe that it's Peter Criss on the drums.
Honestly, you're right. Honestly, that's what the cover promised me.
Yeah.
And then when I heard it, I wished that I didn't care anymore. That's what happened to me. That's when I started. That's when I departed. And then.
So I didn't depart yet, but what I noticed was, when Dynasty came out, all my friends and almost everyone I went to school with were 100% into Kiss. I mean, I had three other buddies I could go out on Halloween with because we all did the makeup. We were buying records, we were collecting posters, we all bought Dynasty, and we knew every single track. By the time we got into Unmasked, I think I was the only one who bought Unmasked. None of my other buddies were into it. They were totally branching out into other things. And when the Elder came out, I know none of them were interested in the Elder, and I kind of kept it to myself that I bought the Elder. When Creatures came out, I knew Creatures was out, but we didn't have it in the stores in Newfoundland. And a guy I went to high school with, he was going to Ontario with some kind of a school trip. So I gave him $10, and I said, would you mind going in and buying me Creatures of the Night? He said, I'm not buying you a Kiss record and bringing it back. He didn't want to do that. He said, I'm not buying you a Kiss record. So I had to wait. My parents got it in Florida. But that's what I noticed. I just noticed their popularity began to wane through what other people in school were doing. And their response to these albums. And again, everybody had Dynasty, but nobody bought Unmasked.
What's funny is, like, you just had your birthday, and I'm going to have my birthday in April, and there's no question that I've looked around. I think I'm the oldest podcaster out there right now when it comes to Kiss. and I'm not even joking. I think I am, actually. And but it's really interesting. Like, remember we had that conversation with Jody and D-Rock that time on Strange Ways, and we talked about how they were just coming into the band when we were just
kind of jumped on in the 80s.
Yeah, when we were just departing the band, if you will. So it is kind of interesting. So what? You know what? Unmasked. Again, it gives. Obviously, it's one of those things that it's to me. It's like the Phantom. It's like the Elder. It's like these little slight. Weird,
odd little things.
Yeah.
The title itself, Unmasked. I mean, everybody was expecting to see Kiss.
Yeah.
Without makeup, and that was it's almost like, okay, maybe we're starting to lose some popularity, but one of the things that people are so interested in is, what do we look like without our makeup? That was all over the late 70s. So I think it was an attempt to capitalize or at least take advantage of that mystique, and in the end it was a joke. I found it odd was that they did a whole other album with makeup before they got to taking it off. I thought it was exactly.
You know, it told you.
I mean, if anything should be Unmasked, it should be the Lick It Up album.
Yes,
right? That's where they are unmasked.
You're right. You're right. That would have been the title for it.
So Unmasked itself is sort of a tease. It's like, you all want to see us.
Here you go.
We're not going to give it to you.
Okay, so let's pretend for a second. I got to go soon because I got to go. I'm supposed to make breakfast for my wife. I'm going to get in trouble if I don't. But so let's say, okay, we changed the title of this album because we have to call Lick It Up Unmasked. So what would the title, based on the material in this album, what would this and the quality of this album, what would you call this album?
I'd call it Is That You.
Really?
And you could have the same cover where that reporter is tracking the men.
Oh, okay, yeah.
All right, and he says, Paul, is that you in this restaurant wearing a mask? And Gene, is that you? And he tries to capture Ace and Peter in their limousine, right? Is that Ace? Is that Peter? I don't know. It's just a feeble attempt.
Well, there's a question for.
No, I mean, that was a good question. What would you call that album?
So that's a question for the viewers. There's the check at the end to see if someone listened to the whole show.
See if they listen to the whole thing. So what would you call this album?
Yeah, what would you call this album if Lick It Up has now become Unmasked? And what would you call this album? And, right.
And I just want to make a point, mention of the cover. We did album covers in other episodes, but I think it's a very unique and original and likable album cover. It shows they've got a sense of humor. I lost Jeff Gray.
This is album covers part 8.
But what's cool is that poster, right? You got some candy in this album. You got a giant poster. I think it was folded. It's the same size as a record, folded 6 times. So I guess that makes it 3 feet wide by 2 feet tall. And you get that really cool artwork by Victor Steppen.
Okay.
Of them holding, pretending to unmask and then holding. And Gene with his finger through the mouth, like the tongue, Oh,
was that in that one?
I like the poster.
So I didn't get that because I had the 8-track, right? So I didn't get that.
Yeah, I bought the album and it had this really cool poster in it, and it's the bottom panel, the last panel. No, it's not the last panel, the second last panel, where they actually take off their masks. The very last panel is them on stage, and the reporter says, "I still think they stink." I thought it was great.
That's a good album. That's what I'd call the album.
I think they stink.
I still think they stink.
I still think they stink. There you go. I like the cover. I thought it was different. And
it's a good. I think it's a good cover. Yeah.
Yep.
I think I like it a lot. I think we should talk more about covers.
Funny thing is, we say that they're wearing their Dynasty costumes, and yet on Dynasty we don't see costumes.
Right.
But on Unmasked we see those costumes. Yet we'll still call them the Dynasty costumes.
They were still in that, but they were still in that sort of cycle where they're doing something every year kind of thing. So production of the show was lagging the actual.
But it's like Creature's costumes. There's no costumes on Creatures, but we know what we mean when we say Creature costumes and Elder costumes.
Right.
It's just whatever they wore on that tour.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think we've exhausted Unmasked.
I think we have. I'm sick of the album already. I'm ready to listen to some Elder.
I'm exhausted. Yeah.
You're not well, Mr. Scott.
Oh, you're just a boy. Awesome Baroque music.
Isn't it?
Yep,
yeah.
It's broke.
It's broken.
All right.
Well, I should go out and shovel some snow.
Me too.
Quite a blizzard here today.
I'm not shoveling anything. I gotta wait till it ends.
Wait till it ends and fire up the snowblower.
Yeah.
But we got to do a show on things that Chris Medic doesn't understand.
Okay.
Snow blowers, snow shovels, block heaters, snow boots.
Yeah.
Hope you're enjoying. I hope you're having a wonderful time in Sacramento, California.
Yeah. And we should, while we're at it though, we should. I mean, Chris continues to give us great artwork to work with.
Yeah, and Chris and Ben over in the Netherlands, and Christine in New Jersey is just great that we've made such great friends, and they're always, they're all we know.
Derek Lucci and there's so many people now. The what?
Eldon over in Newfoundland.
And we have the 2 pages, right? We've got the Watchin You page, which is growing, and I freaked some people out yesterday, I think, because we were at 666 likes. And I made reference to that, and then immediately after that, we went to 665. I think
someone dropped out.
Now we're back up back to 667 again. But the East Coast Kiss Tribute sister page, the companion page, right, for the jamming stuff is like over 2,600 likes now.
That's unreal.
Yeah, and
it's unreal. We got to get some more tunes up there.
I agree, and we've got some in the bag, right?
Yeah, we recorded the whole afternoon of jamming, so
I can't wait to see some of that stuff actually, because I've enjoyed it very much. The stuff I've shared, pretty much what we've done that I had taped, so it's just the stuff that you got. So, all right, man, Unmasked.
Well, great to talk with you again, Jeff.
I'm remasking.
I'm gonna put my mask back on.
Yeah, I'm remasking.
Yeah, are we gonna sing something as we go out?
What do you want to sing?
I want to sing, let me see. I'm going to sing...
Start spreading the news.
Da, 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 da. I was trying to think of something
it's
on
snowing today.
It's snowing today.
I don't want to be a part of it.
I got it. Thought I'd go out and shovel some snow today. But it's too deep, so I think I'll just go away. I spotted a polar bear coming down the road. He stopped at the edge of my drive when he dumped a load. I don't know.
He dumped a load. A load of what?
A load of shit.
A load of shit. That's too funny. That's right. Yeah. Oh my God.
Polar girl.
Polar girl.
Come into my igloo. Polar girl.
Now rhyme. Now you got to rhyme with igloo.
Igloo.
No, bad choice. That's tough.
I love you.
I love you. That's right. All right.
Jeff Scott signing off from New Brunswick, Canada.
And Jeff Gray signing off from Stewiacke, Nova Scotia, Canada, Northern Hemisphere.
Yeah.
Western Hemisphere.
Yeah. We'll see you next time on Watchin You.
Watchin You. Thanks, everybody.
See ya, folks. Bye-bye.